Hello, everybody. It's me, Brady, otherwise known as Chase for Boy, on my highly esteemed channel, and my friend here, Michael. I'll censor that. Michael.
What'd you say?
I said your full name. Not that was an issue or anything. But anyway, we're going to be talking about A Quiet Place Part 2. Yay!
Yo!
And then I'll play the intro, my intro, and it'll cut back into our discussion. If we were in the world of A Quiet Place, Toby would have killed us 500 times by now.
Or we would have been killed because of Toby.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that was weird, and I don't know if it was avoidable, was that the events of this film are like immediately after the first film.
Yeah.
And I feel like you don't feel them grieving for the father hardly at all, which is kind of weird. Okay, I guess we do see moments of that, but it doesn't seem like the first film just happened.
Yeah, that was something I was thinking of, like the girl character. I can't even remember her name.
The sister, the daughter.
Yeah, the sister is she's sitting at this new factory location, and it's like your father just died the very hours beforehand, and it doesn't really feel like it.
No,
for some reason, which
is strange because there's a lot of attention to detail with Emily Blunt's character stabs her foot in the first movie, and it's wrapped the entire movie. Yeah. So that's cool because we get that continuity. But then the emotional continuity is a little shaky, which again I don't know how avoidable that is. But
when I saw that nail again, I was like, oh my gosh,
why
are you focusing on the nail? Are we seriously gonna step on it again?
They did show a lot of things that kind of called back to the first movie.
Yeah.
Like we saw the toy and the general store or whatever that was that caused the one son to die.
Rest in peace.
Things like that.
I guess the sister character. So I felt like, I don't know, I know a lot of people were really frustrated with her in the first movie because she was just kind of angry at John Krasinski the whole time. I don't know. I didn't really feel that way in this movie. I did feel a little frustrated because she's going out on her own and she's literally deaf. So good luck surviving.
Yeah, to me, because she strikes me as a character who's really smart and intuitive. And her going off on her own, I was like, would she really try to do that on her own? It seemed a little like it was necessary to make the story work.
Yeah, but.
I do like that they're making her kind of the hero of this universe. It is interesting that we have this character who's literally deaf in this world haunted by these monsters that are attracted to sound. It's cool.
Especially the end with her holding out her hand my hand's gonna be really big in the camera because of
it was kind of like an 11
it literally made me think of oh, that's 11.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Especially the end of the first season with her holding out her hand.
Yes, in the classroom. Yeah, that's what I thought of exactly.
So I wonder, especially with all the red and blue colors from Stranger Things season 3, that kind of was reminiscent of. And the boy character, the brother character, I don't know. I felt like he didn't really add much this movie. In the first movie there's a big arc with him kind of growing up and building confidence and becoming gaining courage just to fight for his family, and in this movie he just doesn't learn much, or I don't know, he has the moment at the end, but it doesn't feel like it's part of a story for him.
Yeah, it's the development is continued in the second movie. It's just maybe not so cleanly evident, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously in the end of the second film where he has this moment to shine, he wouldn't do that in the first movie. So there is development, but we didn't really see the journey there. I don't know. He
kind of spends the whole movie just he gets stuck in a bear trap. Yeah. And then he wanders around, makes a sound on accident, and then draws a monster, and then that's basically what he does, contributes. I don't know. I feel like his contribution to the movie as a whole is kind of they kind of struggled to find a purpose for him almost.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot of the kids from Stranger Things season 3, where it's
they're just kind of
they're there now, you know. We're probably gonna make a lot of Stranger Things references because it's similar.
Yeah, it's supernatural monsters that kind of remind you of Demogorgons and
they
kids.
look pretty much the same, and the kids element. What else is there?
What else? Did you want to talk about the sound editing?
Oh yeah, something especially from the first movie I felt was so strong was the sound element, because it's highlighted and brought to the forefront where you concentrate on the sound now. Mm-hmm. You know, not to say that like some other movies don't have superior sound design, but in the first movie, because of the nature of the monster, it was such an important element, and they highlighted that so well by bringing it to like every sound matters, you know, and you're paying attention to it, and it's like all sound, no talking, very little music. In this movie, it's much the same, except I felt like there was something about it that was less impactful.
You mentioned, at least to me earlier, that some of there are objects that seems like they should have made louder noises that seemed almost silent. Like there wasn't even like a little bit of noise. It was like there was this hatch that kept opening, and it just didn't. It was suspiciously quiet. Like, which is, I mean, I get from a writing standpoint, they don't want it to make noise, and you can kind of ignore that. But it is. I don't remember things like that happening in the first movie.
I felt like in the first movie you heard pretty much everything, and that emphasized the tension so much, because it's like every little thing it could be a trigger. But in this movie, it kind of feels almost a little like they just silenced everything. So like doors open. There's a point where the sister opens like a train car door, and the door doesn't make any noise, and they're walking on gravel, and it doesn't make gravel noise. It kind of makes like soft nothing noises. Like if you're walking on gravel, it's gonna be like crunchy and loud. Like why? I don't know. And they open like metal giant hatches, and it doesn't make any squeaks or thuds at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like they just emptied the sound instead and just made it really quiet when there should have been a lot more going on. And I felt like that detracted from the element a bit. I don't know, it's not like the worst thing in the world, but it kind of wasn't. Like whenever they opened a door, it's like, that's going to make a sound.
Yeah.
And then conveniently at the end it does.
It does,
right?
And you're like,
right.
Now it does. One thing I kind of noticed was that it seemed like there were more instances of loud noises in this movie that didn't trigger a monster attack.
Oh, really?
Maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like there were like lots of minor, like little clamors, and then there wasn't always a reaction, which maybe that's just because there wasn't a creature nearby.
I don't know.
Maybe that's me being picky. I haven't seen the first one in a long time.
I don't know. I haven't seen the first one in about a year, so I can't really say. I guess there were things like walking on leaves and stuff that I felt like was gonna be more important than it wasn't. Than it was.
I guess I'm thinking like, well, Emily Blunt, her backpack snagging on the fence.
Yeah, I feel like that might have been a big deal in the first one. Maybe.
It was usually like a monster would end up attacking, but they made a couple noises before, and I don't know. After we're shown these things like immediately attacking, I guess it just felt a little strange.
Yeah. I guess that can lead into our next topic, where it's like, what about the monsters as a whole? In the first movie, you see very little of them. There's only the instances that they occur are a few and far between, I'd say. But they're pretty much prevalent in the second half. But you still don't see a good amount of them.
Because it's at night.
Yeah,
so they're kind of shrouded in mystery a little bit.
They're shrouded in shadow, and you see parts of them, but not the whole thing until the end.
Whereas in this film, we see them in broad daylight, like full body, countless times, which is kind of nice in a way. It's different. It's
like, I guess after you reveal the monster, you don't need to like go ahead and hide it again. But aside from just seeing more of the monster, you also see many more of them.
Yeah.
There's probably like a dozen individual monsters in this movie as a whole.
How many die? Like
at least 5.
There's the one at the beginning. one on the island.
Yeah.
Or at the end, at least three major ones.
They kill the one on the way to the factory. They kill the one in the train.
Oh, the train one, that's 4.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking...
They kill the one at the end, obviously.
I think 4.
Oh, and they kill... Yeah, there's at least 4, maybe 5.
So we do get more of them actually fighting the monsters.
But, yeah, even though there's more monsters... Even though they, like, die a lot more, they don't feel any less, like, a threat. I don't know. Yeah, I'd say so. Like, they still, like, just show up and kill people pretty quickly. I guess, like, okay, this is a point. In the first movie, when the monsters show up and kill somebody, like, the deaths feel so much more brutal. Like, in this movie, they just kind of, like, hit you.
It felt like they were just kind of whacking figures over. Which, I mean, usually we saw it, like, in passing, the cameras moving quickly or whatever, but it did seem less impactful after some of the gore in the first one. Yeah.
Like, in the first movie, it's like when the monsters like ran up and sliced somebody, it like looked like the kid was gonna get sliced in half.
Yes.
In this movie, and it would always like do some clever cutaway so you never saw it, right? In this movie, when you see the monsters hit people and kill them, except it kind of just looks like it pokes them really hard, like, and the guys go, like, you never see people's, like, bodies get dismembered, which, I don't know, like, that's a thing. I think this movie's probably PG-13. There's no blood in it. Or, like,
there's some.
There's blood, but there's no gore or anything, so, maybe there's, like, a Krasinski cut waiting where there's, like, people's bodies getting sliced in half.
Maybe. One thing we both wanted more of was we wanted to learn more about the actual monsters or aliens themselves, but the only real thing we learn is that they can't swim.
Yeah. Which makes them very less threatening in like a practical way, because it's like they just can't swim. Like, they went to a planet that's like 90% water or something, and they can't
70.
Whatever,
It is interesting that they have another weakness. I did think that was cool, like, because I was wondering, is there something else that they're weak to?
Yeah.
But we didn't really learn anything in terms of, like, we were both hoping to see maybe a place that they lived, like a den or an
like
egg
more
or
about
something. more about the species as a whole.
That was something, like, we talked about it. It's like, it would have been so cool if they did like an I Am Legend moment where, like, they're just walking and like the survivor and Emirate and the
daughter
girl character are just like walking, and they navigate through this dark building, and suddenly it's like all these sleeping aliens going, and they have to like be quiet as they like walk around them so they don't like wake them up. I don't know. Or maybe like they stumble upon some like empty cocoons or empty egg hatches or something, so it's like implying that you just show more of their biology or something, because we still learn very little about them, and I felt like that was a little disappointing. I didn't expect to see a whole lot. I didn't expect to learn a whole lot, but I don't know. We learned basically nothing aside from seeing the asteroid that they came on.
Yeah, at first I was like, is that a spaceship? But it was
I couldn't tell if they were like trying to do like it's a spaceship, how it was flying, because like a real life asteroid would not like slowly descend.
Yeah.
So
I was kind of confused about that too.
In the first one, like newspapers said it was an asteroid that crashed into the Earth, but like you look at it, it's like, why is it like falling out of the sky and not like crashing into the Earth like at speeds greater than you can like react to? I don't know.
Yeah, because if it's an asteroid, are they just inside of the asteroid? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, it would have been cool, like, maybe if they, like, explored an area, like, at the crash site of one of those things. Like, and you saw it, like, split open, and so you see all these, like, maybe it looked like the inside of a beehive or something, like, all the rock or whatever.
And, like, to see like an egg or something, like to imply that they're multiplying would also increase the threat of, oh no, these things are taking over the world. What are we gonna do? But maybe they don't want to do that with this world, because it seems like they're setting it up for a third movie, maybe a final. Maybe it's gonna be a trilogy. Yeah,
that was something. It's like if they implied that the aliens could breed or multiply, that up the stakes a lot more. Where it's like you can't just like wipe a certain amount out. You have to like find other means of just, I don't know. It's
because they know how to kill them, which is like that was the big twist of the first one. And I guess in the second one we didn't really learn anything new about how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
They just did that on a bigger scale with the radio
like
tower.
they did the same trick. It's like a lot of speculation for what a sequel from The Quiet Place should be. Like talked about spreading the news of how to kill the aliens or spreading that information. And that doesn't really even play a part of this movie at all. Like they give like the what is that thing? A hearing aid.
Hearing aid, yes.
To like this new colony, but you don't see them discuss it or anything.
Yeah, in fact, we see very little of the colony at all, which was one of our biggest.
Yeah, like that ties back into the whole like lack of lore with the aliens. There's just like a lack of lore with the world itself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we get to see the backstory of how the family survived in that town setting, and you do hear some conversations from some surviving characters, like the black guy from the islands, where he tells his story about these boats, and like that's interesting, but that's it. It's very shallow, and that's it. You never see like the town itself, any leadership from this village, like this island civilization, talk to the newcomers. It just like kind of just cuts past it. It
just cuts to them at the fire. We don't get any initial interaction. We don't get anyone shocked that they're there. And I feel like they could have introduced a character or something at the fireside who then could have died when the monster showed up, and we would have been like, oh no. Yeah, we essentially get introduced to just one major surviving character, and we don't really learn a whole lot about him before he dies. I feel like he could have done a bit more, I think. Yeah, he's in the movie very briefly. Yeah. He was great, but rest in peace. Rest in peace. We both realized that it's very interesting that the only two black characters end up dying. Yeah. Which is... the two, like, supportive black friends, and it's... Just come on. Both end up dying after very little screen time, which is... Maybe that's what that article meant about the returning to classic horror. Maybe. Yeah. Why you gotta do this? So, what else is there to talk about? The music? The music's the same. It's subdued. It's very pretty. They use a lot of the same tracks as from the first movie. The same themes, but you can tell they're a little different, and it's nice. They're still minimalistic. Yeah, they're still very minimal, very, like, kind of ambient. There's, like, one or two tracks I'll probably listen to outside, maybe download, but aside from that, there's a lot of just standard horror soundtracks where it's like a lot of that stuff. It's definitely unique, and I would say overall the movie still succeeds in being unique because it is so sound based. It's something you don't really see. Yeah, it was the same experience in large part to the first, where it's like you can hear people eating their food behind you. There was one guy digging into a bag of chips. It was like a bag of gummies or something because it didn't sound like chips, but he was like, every time he reached in to get one, it's like, brother, just be a little, I don't know, whatever. And it was, after this movie, it had the same effect on me as the first one, where I felt like I couldn't make noise afterwards, so it still succeeds in, like, doing its basic gimmick, I guess. Yeah. It still succeeds in that very well. Yeah, that's true. It's like, afterwards, it's like, oh, we all should be quiet. The novelty is not worn off. Now, for a third film... Yeah, for a third movie... See. For a third movie, I think by then it's like, okay, we get it. It's a quiet movie. We gotta be quiet. I will say that there is, like, something about the movie did eventually get a little irritating after a while. It was just like the alien monster attacks became very, I don't know, to me they kind of felt a little repetitive after a while. I could see that. It's like, it's the same gimmick, it's like you can't really drag out the gimmick of you make a sound, you get chased by a monster out too long. There's only so many scenarios you can play that out where eventually it becomes uninteresting, I think. And this movie kind of starts the border on that. I don't know. I felt like there were still some utilizations that were interesting. Like,
when the girl character, I wish I remembered her name, took a step onto that desk and there was all that crap on it.
Yeah.
Or you see like she's gonna step on that bottle thing, and then
that was hard.
And then oh no, there's a cup, and then she's like, oh, whew. And then oh no, there's a paper that's everything up. Yeah. You know, it's like one after another. It's like that was really good. So that was like a clever last thing they pulled off, but. You know, there's still many moments where they're just walking. And it's like, oh, frick, I bumped into a thing. You know, where it's like, whatever.
It did feel kind of rushed how when the monster attacks the town, they quickly go to the radio station.
Yeah.
And I was confused because I didn't know what they were. I was like, why are they running to this car? I mean, I understood for the plot that we were going to move there, but it just seemed kind of strange.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess like all the characters would have known about the weakness, and maybe they were luring it to the. I don't know. Did they have a gun on them?
Maybe they didn't because I never saw one. But I was wondering. I was like, why don't they just kill it right there?
Yeah,
she has her little thing ready to go.
Right.
But I don't know.
I also something. It's like all those survivor characters on that like in that town. It's like if the monster's attacking, you know it's sound based. So stop screaming. Stop running.
Yeah.
Take a quick moment to stop and just like. And like where is it, and then just like huddle up on the ground, or just like slowly walk. You don't like. I feel like people would have caught on by then. I don't know.
It kind of yeah. Moments like that where it kind of felt like they just wanted to panic in the movie to kind of rehash the panic that we experienced in that initial scene, which is like it's cool to see people dying because you're like, oh no, but it does kind of. Crack the realism that the movie's kind of founded on so deeply.
I guess it kind of plays back into like the lack of information about this town, because if we were introduced to a civilization and we got like proper information on them, we would have had like a contingency plan in place or like a discussion at least where it's like, if a monster does end up on the island, how do we handle it?
This is what we're gonna do.
I don't know, like, and it kind of seemed like the car honking was part of it, but still, everyone just like screaming and running around didn't feel like natural to me. I don't know. It kind of played back into the part where it's the thing where it's just like we don't really see much of this town's organization. We don't see very many characters from it. It kind of just feels like a shallow group of just like not even faceless characters, honestly.
Yeah. The whole town just felt so one-dimensional. Which
it's like we don't see where their power source is. Like we don't see who's like fuel. What do they have? A bunch of generators. We don't see their schedule. We don't see like their watchmen, or if they have that, or
did we see any like gardening or fishing?
No,
I don't think we did.
We didn't see any like gardening or like how do they gather food, or who does all the work, or what's their social structure like. Just none of that. Same with the random bad guys at the beach. I feel like their whole existence is to justify like this. One of the many themes of this movie is that humanity after the apocalypse kind of like becomes monstrous themselves, which is very in the vein of Walking Dead and The Last of Us.
Yeah, like, is it worth saving?
Is it worth saving people? I think that's like a line from one of the characters, and I don't know. They're just a bunch of bad guys. You don't really see why they're bad.
No, and they don't really come back. Both these bad guys and this good civilization don't really. I don't know. It's a missed opportunity.
There's like it's just not really well developed. I think it's just very shallow. It's like a bunch of bad guys show up and they want to do something like maybe eat her. I don't know.
It's especially a missed opportunity because this movie is basically the entire premise is for it to build on the first one. It expands and. It expands, and sure, we meet people outside of the family, but they just feel so flat that it's a little like...
Yeah, like, narratively wise, it's expanding. We're seeing extra groups. We're seeing more of the world. We're seeing more landscape. But, like, there's not a whole lot of depth to it in a weird way. Yeah. I don't know. I guess, like, one of the last things we should talk about is the ending. Yeah. The ending... It ends the exact same way as the first movie, but... Where I felt like the first movie's ending was appropriate because the first movie ends with them learning harnessing this new power and realizing that they can now fight back.
Yeah, and they're like ready. Yeah, Emily Blunt's like, she cocks it, she's ready to go, and it's black.
The family I spent this entire movie like being afraid walking on their toes, and now they're on the offensive, and that's kind of the end of the movie, and that's perfect.
And you're like, yes.
In this movie, does the exact same thing. It's like that we're now on the offensive, except it's like, I don't know. It's just not as powerful anymore, I think.
It's weird. It is weird because it's kind of reusing the same formula again. And I guess you can argue it is expanded because they're taking on two monsters at once. It's through the radio tower, but it doesn't necessarily give you too much of something new.
Yeah. I felt like that new should have been. We discussed this, but like, if the point of the movie is that they find an island that they can live on in this new civilization, then the point of the movie is that there should be like hope for the future. If that's the point of the movie, then that should be what it is emphasized at the end. And if they wanted to emphasize hope for the future, they should have had everybody on the island like we can, like, I don't know, gardening or something, or just like by having that families remain apart, where one is like just off here in the wilderness full of alien monsters and the others are just on the island. It doesn't give off that impression where it's like we can build something new now. That's not the feeling I get from the ending. I just feel the same thing I felt from the first one. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain what I mean here, but I think you get it. Get it.
A lot of apocalyptic films and books and things tend to emphasize, there's hope or there is no hope at all, and we're kind of just it didn't really go to either one.
It really doesn't, which is weird.
Which maybe that's not a bad thing, but
it does leave the ending to me feeling a little like, it almost leaves the ending or maybe even the whole movie feeling like a little inconsequential to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm struggling to understand, like, what is the point? What did the characters really, how in what ways did they really grow? And at the moment, I genuinely don't know. Maybe if I think about it more, I'll convince myself otherwise, but
I mean, we saw I think the most growth we saw was with, again, new character. The survivor
Emirate guy.
Emirate,
where he goes from like nothing, this is it, he like literally says this is it, and he's like gestures to this nothing campground he's at. It's like, that's a depressing life, and
then he's kind of inspired by this young deaf woman.
But like the other characters, I feel like, I don't know, maybe if they emphasized like we have to live because of our father's sacrifice, it's like we won't let his death be in vain or something. I don't know, maybe that's not realistic for kids to think like that though, but whatever. Is there anything else? I guess we should talk about because obviously there's gonna be a third one now. What will the third movie look like?
The quietest place. It is interesting because they decided to expand the world in this one. My mind automatically goes to, will they try to expand it more? But what does that look like, and how? Because you would have to, since they found this group of people, you could go with that route of this new colony that they found. Are they gonna like work with it? I don't know. It's weird.
It's like, at the moment, it seems like the setup is gonna be they have to go back and rescue the remainder of the family, right?
Oh, maybe.
Or the remaining members, because they're still out in the like danger zone.
And then maybe some other people for some reason
like attack the island. I don't know. It's like I really struggle to see like meaningful directions for this movie. I guess they could have emphasized like the daughter and the son taking the places, like taking the same role as their father, but I feel like they've already done that.
Yeah, there could be a time jump.
Yeah, especially with how old the actors are probably getting at this point.
I think they'll do a time jump because I think because this one is immediately after, they'd have to do a time jump in order to make it bigger again. Like, now they've been surviving for years, because it's only been like 474 days.
Yeah, that would make the world feel a lot more interesting if like we jumped into farther along in the apocalypse, because that would change what the world looks like significantly.
I bet that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I hope they do that. That would be interesting. I think that would justify a sequel again. I don't know. It's weird because like these movies don't build off of each other. As of right now, I don't think this movie really builds off of the second one. It's not like becoming more and more grand, like some trilogies do. It's just like another chapter in the just a day in the life, I guess. It kind of feels like, if that makes sense.
Which for me, I don't mind that.
I don't.
I probably sounds like I hated this movie, but I had so much fun. It was great.
I know we've been talking a lot of crap about it, but that's kind of the way it goes.
It's good.
Yeah,
go see it.
Even though I said it kind of feels inconsequential, it's definitely a movie I'd recommend to go see. Right.
Mm-hmm. Especially in a theater. That was the first movie I've seen in over a year, and it was a good experience.
The last movie I saw was Godzilla vs. Kong, and that was just garbo.
Yeah.
I had to watch that in theaters too, and like you'd expect a movie like Godzilla vs. Kong to get like some reactions, and the audience was silent the entire time. How was the audience in this movie?
They were pretty silent, but I feel like for a movie like this,
it's appropriate.
It makes sense because people don't want to be heard. You're hyper conscious of. Like I heard my stomach make a noise at one point. It's like, dang, it's that quiet.
Yeah.
Which is a cool experience.
You always see like the test audiences for horror movies going.
That was me twice. Like I think like a car hit something, or when the birds flew out, I was like,
yeah. Or like the bear trap was probably like. The bear trap moment was probably for me like the most shocking thing that happened in the movie.
Yeah, that was rough.
In the first movie, one of the aspects of the first movie that really sticks out in my mind is just like how visceral the violence is. Mm-hmm. Like stepping on the nail is so gross to me.
And the father's death in the first one is just so devastating.
There is that bear trap moment, and you see like all the skin peeled off, and it looks brutal.
But they don't really. They kind of just drop that thread.
They kind of do, yeah. It doesn't have like a real lasting impact for the rest of the movie. Where it's like Emily Blunt stepping on the nail is like the moment that changes how the rest of the movie goes.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so just devastating. It's like, oh my god, you can see the nail poking through, and it's like, and then she's pregnant and it's like giving birth at the same time.
I was wanting. These kids are great actors. Yeah. I'll give them that. They're amazing. But I wanted the son to like limp more because I felt like I was like, isn't your leg like?
Dude, I got I have a wart here, but right under the wart, I can still feel a bump. I got a fishing hook pierced through my skin.
Oh yeah.
And like I literally blacked out from the pain. So it's like getting a bear trap around your leg and having it skin you like that, and stepping on a nail.
Like I wanted to feel the weight of it for the rest of the movie,
you would definitely just like beat out of it. I think.
Like when he was like sliding back into that little area like really soundproof.
Yeah, I don't even know what that was. Is it like a furnace of some kind?
Maybe. It looked like some type of incinerator. Are we dumb?
I don't know.
We're probably dumb. But anyway, he was like sliding, and I'm like, shouldn't he be grimacing?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And like realistically, that kid, if he got a bear trap, he would scream like everything. There's nothing you can do to stop that, but then he'd just pass out. He would, I think.
Which I mean, he does kind of pass out.
Yeah. Realism not found. Just kidding.
I always feel so bad picking apart movies for like realism because I always yell at people not to do that. Like, just let it be a movie. Yeah. I still believe that.
Man, is there anything else that needs immediate discussion that's like...
Would you say you like the first one better overall then?
I think I do. I think the first movie... Again, it ties back into like the multiple narratives in this movie that all of them are like separate. They don't tie into each other that well until the end, which... the sound at that very moment saves the other group. That's kind of a little contrived, but it's not a bad thing. I don't think.
I think as far as sequels go, it's solid.
It's a solid.
As far as
sequel.
sequels go,
if they just I'll say this: if they make a third movie and it's in the exact same vein as this sequel, and it adds just as much as the sequel did, where we don't get any new lore and we don't get any real new development for the characters, I think it'll just get old at that point. Especially with the whole premise of the movie being like, you know, kind of played out by then. I don't know. I still feel like the premise of the monsters getting attracted to sound is a little played out, and even in this movie. So I don't know how long they can use it for.
I truly hope, because these are such a unique type of horror film, that like I really do hope they do the less is more approach and they stop at 3, so it doesn't get exhausted, but we still get 3 movies of this.
Are there like any creatives? We've already mentioned like walking amongst the monsters as they sleep. That'd be a new scenario they could use. They could also, they kind of do it in this movie where there's like bad guys versus our heroes. Yeah. And the monsters are in there. It'd be kind of cool to like if there was an enemy character or a group and they like tried to attract the monster to each other to like use it as a weapon. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. I don't know. That's a thing they could do. They kind of try and do it in this movie with, they clearly set that trap around that guy with the noise, but yeah, but it's not like played out to that degree or anything. I don't know. In the future, I guess in a sequel they could do like introduce like a major surviving government power. Like maybe like there's factions in the military that are still around that can fight against the monster, and like maybe they're, you know, I don't know. Maybe they're bad and they just like abuse people and take what they want. But I don't know, like that's very in the vein of 28 Days Later and The Walking Dead and basically every zombie movie ever. So yeah, it's like, it's hard to avoid just being like a generic zombie movie about aliens, I guess, at this point.
Yeah. And if they can't swim, it does beg the question, are there just a bunch of islands that are completely safe?
I guess there must be.
We gotta get there.
Unless like the alien just like gets in a boat and floats away. No. What do the aliens eat? They have teeth for a reason. But they don't seem to eat anything.
No. Yeah, we could have learned about like their diet, or like we could have seen like a deer corpse that freshly eat. I don't know.
Like they kill everything they hear, so like they killed the raccoon in the first movie.
Oh yeah.
So. So what would your rating of A Quiet Place Part 2 be?
I don't know. Out of what?
I don't know. Out of 10.
Ugh. Out of 10? Oh dear. Do you have an idea?
Man.
Oh no.
It's weird because like excellent music, excellent like acting, great. Like the story was pretty good. Like my complaints are basically that it's like, I don't know, some of the elements didn't seem like they all fit together well, but like as far as the writing goes, it's really good.
Especially with all the little like, it's very clever in the way that the first film is, with like setting up little like oh no moments where you're like, oh no this happened, oh no that happened,
right,
where the tension builds,
right, like with her stepping on the shelf and whatnot. Like that's really clever. And there's also just like some nice callbacks here and there, like dive, you know, like that's the first thing. Why does he ask what dive? Oh, it's because of the baseball thing, right?
Yeah, the baseball. Yeah.
So like even like that's just a hallmark of confident writing, I think.
Good writing, setups and payoffs. Yeah.
There's character arcs with the new character, and you know some less interesting character arcs for our main heroes. Again, some of the main characters that felt important in the last one I feel are underutilized. I don't know. So overall, I'd say it's probably less good than the first movie. Yeah. I'd say the first movie for me is like a pretty much near perfect. Yeah. So this movie is probably above a 7. I don't know. Numbers are arbitrary to begin with.
I would give it an A in terms of entertainment. I had a great time.
It's a A entertainment movie. As far as like a quality writing movie, it's like maybe in the B+ range.
Yeah, I give it a B.
Yeah. It's a B movie. No, it's not a B movie, but it's like a quality level.
It's good.